Alright, so welcome everyone. Today we're talking about building in the age of the AI. This is a practical playbook for anyone who wants to ship real products with AI as a co-pilot and not autopilot. And it's been inspired by Leon Sanders, the reality of building a software startup with the AI. Now, it's going to be a little bit of hallucination, so hang in there, type. Now, the reason why I thought that this is a good idea to start with, to introduce into the list of whatever projects we're gonna do, like foundational, backend and brain, and all these products and all these steps and all these tools that we could and have to use when we're talking about development. It's because AI is taking over. The revolution is here. So basically, the problem is that most of people are using it, right? And even Nvidia, even everyone pretty much is using it right now, bro. So you'll be an idiot if you will think to sit down and write all that when everybody's. It's like you trying to compete with people that are racing cars. Okay, they thinking about buying the next fastest car, and you're up there running. So it makes no damn sense in it. So, right, you have to be aware basically of the tools you have and use them correctly, I'll say. And do not give into fear, do not give into panic. I'll say the best thing to do is to focus on one thing and do it and master it. Do it to the point of mastering it. And yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. And it's hard to be doing that because the hype is real, right? And it's like Michael Jackson coming to Romania to a concert. It's crazy. The people passing out in the front line and stuff. So I guess this guy is like the new rock star on the block or stuff like that. And it's like and I understand why, me personally. So if you ever build an application, you probably can confirm this. So by the way, I built this. Right, this is a little bit of promotion. So promotion, right? An application where you can say subscribe, right? And like, comment your uh, opinion, and the reason why is that if you sit down or using, say for example, one of these features, right? Um, Google AI Studio, which is you can use it for free, and you just create an application, whatever. For example, this one,
My name is Jeff.
right? So next thing you know, you say, okay, add some color. You keep adding, and you see that happening, and you keep adding, and you see that happen. You see that moment of you basically wanting something, and somebody's giving that to you, achieving that little goal there, that little step. That is what is the hype. Okay, that's what the hype is. And I guess a lot of people nowadays they have little self-control, so therefore they looking for hypes. Now you could look it on a phone, right, through the short format, video format, reel when you just scroll, right, and you just see all these amazing people putting their videos about whatever nonsense, right, and get the boost of dopamine from there. Or you can do it from creating stuff yourself, right? And this is why this thing is hyping people up, because most of people they manage to see their projects or their ideas coming alive overnight, right? Now, you do have all these ideas in your head, but clearly there's a difference between you having an idea in your head and a product that sells, right? And when you get into this, you'll understand that this is a very well structured game. That you get into it, and it requires a lot of resources and a lot of ambition and stuff, right? And a lot of times you will need a supportive environment, right? You'll need like a team, because it is like a roller coaster at the end of the day. And when you live in a society where people, the max achievement of people is having a job in a corporation that gives them some sort of benefits and stuff, and that's it for them, that feels like having a car is enough, right? Clearly, the hamster wheel is real. And when you try to break out and you create your own product and you're trying to bring it in front of others, you'll understand that there's a lot of people that don't agree with that because they never tried it, they never figure out themselves like that, and they're not supportive in general for many things. They rather hate than actually give you a hand. So it's gonna be an ambitious path, okay? What you want to do is just surround yourself with like-minded people and support, and yeah, prevent, by surrounding you with this kind of people, and it will create a supportive environment that will prevent burnout, right? And certain people that know what is this about, okay? Because you can't you can't really blame the people that don't know what you're talking about for not knowing what you're talking about and having a shit attitude, even though they don't know what they're talking about, right? You can't blame them. So one thing is for sure, you will see people um, disappearing from your life, right? They can't pull up with you anymore because at the end of the day, it's a fair thing to do. Maybe they never really wanted to be there, right? They were just there because of the circumstances. So you will have to find the people that are into this as well, right? And you kind of create a common path and you work together. So what is this basically? What is this um, building with AI, right? Construction. You are the architect. I like how this guy is using big words. Bro, you know what it is at the end of the day? Simply put it, it's input, processing, and output. Okay? That's what it is. So you got a large amount of data stored in a massive computer, and you ask him something, it processes that information, and then it gives you something back. That's what it is. Okay? Now they call it prompt engineering. They're calling context engineering. They're calling big words, which is fine because they always do that, don't they? They always try to detach the reality and the emotional side from it so that they always invent new words for whatever. Like instead of calling you human being, or they're calling you client or prospect, all that nonsense, right? Depends on what kind of uh, niche we're talking about. So at the end of the day, it's all about you asking something to this large amount of data trained computer on, right? And it will give you something back. So now obviously there will be loads of filters, loads of systems like a RAG system or stuff like that, that will be, which we will talk about later, that it will be giving you a certain result, and according to the RAG system around it, and that will produce certain results. That's why, for example, Cloud Code is so much better at coding than others, like Google, for example, Gemini, right? Because of the RAG system around and stuff like that. Because at the end of the day, it's not all about the data, but it's also about how exactly you get that data, and how you do it in an efficient way, all that stuff. So when you're trying to use this AI, right, you can use it for personal reasons, right? Nobody will say no, and that's what they're promoting nowadays, right? Because if you go, for example, in Gemini nowadays, and you look at the tools, right, they just get more and more, right? I don't know why I have so many now. So they definitely a lot more than this. Um, and yeah, you can do deep research. You can do Canvas where you create stuff on the canvas like landing pages, guided learning. Now you can choose which one you want to, how do you want to do it. These are different models, by the way, of LLMs. So you got all sorts of stuff you can do, right? It's up to you if you want to use it for free, right? Or you want to create your own LLM, or you want to use an already created LLM for your own business. You want to create the environment for it to actually be able to be put in use, all that stuff. It depends on what you're interested in, but if you build a business, right, you have to understand the marketplace. You have to understand what you're bringing up to the people, to who, most of all, right? So therefore, it's never really like, I mean, ideally you want to invent your own blue ocean, right? As we spoke about it, but it's never really like that, isn't it? So what you do most of the time, you look at whatever works, and you kind of find a better MOIT, right, a mode, and then you kind of create a product around that. You see the problems that already established player has, and you're trying to beat that up, right? And eventually you can do that, right? You apply Netflix strategy on Blockbuster, right? And you become a giant. But that's you. Depends on what you want, really. If you really got it in you like that, and I would say that the hardest part of building isn't code, it's stamina, right? You have to understand the moment you start building, you choose your product, right? You decide it. It's a long process until you actually have a finished product, even if you choose the easiest way possible. Don't get fooled by these guys that they build the applications in 2 hours because these are professionals. They know what they do and they have a system, and they always create like a simple application so that they do it for the sake of the video or something. If you want to do it yourself, put your hands down. I promise you, you wouldn't be able to do it that fast in 2 hours because you ain't got the skill like that. So, especially if you're a beginner, when you come up into this, like, oh, 2 hours, I'm going to create my own. No, that's not going to happen in 2 hours, not even in 2 days. Okay, probably will take you 2 weeks, but that's not a given. Okay, it depends on how dedicated you are, because what happens is that you lose interest. So at the end of the day, it's all about you maintaining that interest, that flame burning, and that's what will create stuff. And then when you hit a lot of problems, a lot of walls, uh, you will realize that the flame doesn't go through walls. Okay, so you need a bigger weapon to break down the wall. Okay, and yeah, that's why you need to find the right people that know and have the solutions, right, to get you through certain situations. So and the tools. So um, the new skill basically that they promoting. We talk about that. It's context engineering, but I would say that also in addition to that is staying focused on the project, right? And finding that keeping that flame burning through the process, right? Finding the exciting part of it every single day and bringing up a product to the end, right? In front of people that they really want it, they need it. Because you're creating in a vacuum, right? In a sandbox, like what you do here. It's like you're playing in a playground and you're building sand castles or something. That's beautiful. You can take a picture now and you go home and you have a memory. But is that going to be useful for somebody? You know, I doubt it. So, yeah, it's all up to you now, to be honest, and how you understand that you have to bring the product in front of somebody. So, uh, so here's the takeaway, right? You have to be realistic. AI helps, but it doesn't lead you. You lead the AI. Now, one thing I spend a lot of time since the AI, right, is reading all these long ass messages, bro. He always has this long ass messages. He never comes up short. Like even if you tell him, yo, keep it short, right? Couple of sentences, stuff like that. He does that for one time, twice, three times, and then he goes back on his old ways. That's what he always does. And it's hard for you to even keep your ideas, and keep the mind focused to whatever you was trying to say when it brings up a fucking number of options all the time in any answer, and then at the end of the whatever answer, when he finishes talking, comes up with suggestions what to do next, right? So if you're discovering this, if you're not really understanding clearly what you want, it's going to be a situation where you get dragged into a lot of this, right? You get lead into it. You get trapped into it, like you get manipulated into it, right? So now you're talking about stuff that you shouldn't talk anyways, and now you're wasting time on stuff that you shouldn't because you didn't really lead this, right? So I guess a good way to be productive is to have a plan, right? Put it down and always kind of follow that. And one way of doing it is this is the whole reason why I invented this, is because this keeps you on the track. So let's say you have, for example, a couple of things you're trying to do, right? And you just create I don't know, you create a new folder and you say things to do tomorrow, right? Things to do tomorrow, right? So, or today. Why tomorrow? Do it today, right? And then you start saying, fix the, I don't know, login system, right? And, right, and then you put whatever you give the details on, you need to do this and that, and yeah, and you save it, and you have it in front of your eyes, right? Create two of this, two, three, whatever, three goals, five goals, how much depends on how much time you have, and you just go and take it one by one, get it done, and then when you finished, you cross them off, and that's about it. If you don't do that, you're gonna find yourself um, surfing the hallucinations of a AI, okay? Because this guy is very good at hallucinating, and it gets you going. You know what I mean? Now you're thinking about stuff that you didn't really want to think about it, and they're not productive. they're not gonna pay the bills at the end of the month. I'll tell you this much. So yeah, I guess this is one of the challenge that you have to keep in mind, and you have to learn a way how to plan meticulously and stick to the plan. And monetize from day one. I mean, this is ideal, obviously, but let's just be honest now. You don't know that. You don't know if you're gonna make any money straight away, unless you have a good marketing system in place. You have a good idea how to promote, advertise that application and everything. And yeah, you will learn that a lot of these guys are just gonna ask you for money to push your ads, but they never really reach the right people that they will actually buy. So then you will start to think, how I'm gonna do this, right? So I guess organic um, advertising also makes a lot of sense. So you just making videos about your products, whatever, right? Makes a lot of sense. How how you gonna do it, it's up to you. You find your strategy. I'm not here to tell you that, but yeah, you have to you have to do it. You have to do it for sure, because otherwise you're just gonna have a product that it sits there and nobody wants. Okay, and you did all that work for what? For what reason? Clearly not just for you to play with it, right? Which is satisfying, but that's not the point, right? Anyways, so that was pretty much it. The age of AI belongs to the builders who pair human judgment with machine speed, right? So I would say this is the takeout. You can come in here and check whatever I've done. Just the whole idea here is not about system, taking people out of the equation, but basically empower them, right? Put them in the driving seat. Otherwise, this machinery is gonna it can drive itself, right? The car nowadays can drive itself, but it's quite weird, right? So until we will create those systems where AI does everything by itself, you know, might just create those systems where we have to create a system where we driving them, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.